From Washington, this is VOA News. Desperate measures to contain the West Africa Ebola outbreak. More U.S. investment heading to Africa. I'm Victor Beattie reporting from Washington. West African officials desperately try to contain the spread of the deadly Ebola virus, which has so far killed nearly 900 people since it was first detected in March. In Liberia, despite government orders, people trying to avoid quarantine continued dumping corpses of Ebola victims in the streets of many communities. Some of the bodies have been cremated. The governments of Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea have announced measures to contain the outbreak, including closing schools and quarantines of communities. Many clinics in the capital, Monrovia, remain deserted as people remain frightened of catching the illness. In Sierra Leone, troops have been deployed to guard quarantined Ebola clinics to deter relatives and friends from forcefully taking patients from the hospital. Finance officials in both Sierra Leone and Liberia warn the outbreak will impact economic growth. Heather Murdoch reports Nigerian authorities are warning the public against false remedies to cure Ebola.
On the internet and in markets across Nigeria, people are searching for a cure for the disease. Officials have warned internet scammers, faith healers, and traditional doctors that it is a crime in Nigeria to tell people you have a cure for Ebola. Promoting false cures discourages the public from seeking expert advice and reporting symptoms, which is a key to containing the disease. Late last month, an American Liberian, Patrick Sawyer, died of Ebola after arriving in Lagos from Liberia. On Monday, officials said one of Sawyer's doctors, a woman, was also infected, and that 8 health workers are showing symptoms. In a scramble to prevent Ebola from spreading, the Nigerian government is building isolation wards, screening travelers, and engaging in a massive public education campaign to encourage people to keep themselves clean. Health workers are reaching out to mosques and churches, encouraging clerics to spread appropriate caution. And as the Nigerian public waits for the test results from the 8 currently isolated health workers, he says there is still hope that Nigeria may avoid a widespread outbreak. Heather Murdoch for VOA News, Abuja.
White House spokesman Josh Earnest Tuesday said the U.S. Centers for Disease Control is coordinating with other global agencies to respond to the outbreak.
The CDC is redoubling their efforts to add additional resources and to make sure that those resources are well coordinated. That is the best way for us to stem this Ebola outbreak, is to make sure that the response is consistent with medical protocols.
Germany Tuesday joined France and the U.S. in advising citizens against travel to the West African region. President Obama says the United States is making a major and long-term commitment to Africa with $33 billion in new investment.
Today, we're announcing $7 billion in new financing to promote American exports to Africa. Earlier today, I signed an executive order to create a new President's Advisory Council of business leaders to help make sure we're doing every single thing we can to help you do business in Africa.
Speaking Tuesday at the U.S.-Africa Business Forum in Washington on the sidelines of the U.S.-Africa Summit, Mr. Obama said the new investment and financing commitments will support both African and American jobs. The Associated Press reports at least 6 South Sudanese aid workers were killed near the Sudanese border this week. As the government and rebels sit down for peace talks in Ethiopia, Secretary of State John Kerry, addressing regional peace mediators at the U.S.-Africa Summit, called for an end to the fighting. Mr. Kerry warned the conflict threatens to bring about starvation for thousands. At least 10,000 have reportedly died since the conflict broke out in December. Also on the sidelines of the U.S.-Africa Summit, Tunisia's president asked the U.S. for 12 Black Hawk helicopters to meet a threat by al-Qaeda terrorists. He said the country may also need night vision and other communications equipment. The UN Tuesday said attacks by the Islamist militant group Boko Haram in northeast Nigeria has forced nearly 650,000 people from their homes. And Egypt's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi Tuesday inaugurated the digging of a new section of the Suez Canal, the $4 billion project to expand the waterway, expected to be complete next year.